Hello there everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Today we are doing a champion guide on Tatura Rimehide. He was the Christmas fusion. I fused him about a week ago. I was waiting for today though because we've a Clan v Clan tournament started today. So I'm waiting for that to buck him out, and I of course didn't have the legendary books when I fused him as well. Also part of it. But yeah, booked him out now. Fully built him, and I'm going to show him to you in a few areas in the game. We're going to look at Spider Dungeon, we're going to look at Doom Tower, and of course, we are going to be looking at the Hydra boss as well, and what Tatura can do for you. He's an extremely good champion. He's very, very, very strong. Let's look at his skills and what makes him so good. So his A1, Solar Ray, attacks one enemy. When booked, has a 100% chance of placing decreased accuracy, 50% decreased accuracy for 2 turns. Really nice. Like, that's a great A1. Consistent source of decreased accuracy. Obviously against single target bosses is going to be very good, and even against the Hydra boss it has some use, especially if you can land this on the Head of Mischief, which is trying to steal your buffs and turn meter. Decreasing its accuracy, giving you a better chance to resist, is pretty nice. And by the way, all of his damage, guys, is based off of defense. So he's a tanky damage dealer, right? The tankier you make him, the harder he's going to hit. Speaking of that, Wings of Shelter, his A2, 3-turn cooldown when booked. He doesn't need many books. I think it's 9 total. Yeah, and it is worth booking him out. He gets a lot better when you book him. Like, this goes from 5 turns to 3 turns. But Wings of Shelter places a block debuffs buff and a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is an incredibly good ability. There's very few champions in the game that can do anything like this on such a short cooldown, certainly. But yeah, it's just fantastic for hard content, progressing through dungeons, going through Doom Tower, anything like that, where you've got nasty debuffs and hard hits coming at you and you're going to be hit by them. This helps your whole team survive through that. And again, also that increased defense buff ups the damage output of Tatura himself, because his damage is based on defense, and any other defense-based damage dealers you've got. Then his A3, Otherworld Breach, 4-turn cooldown when booked, attacks all enemies, places Perfect Veil buff on all allies except for Tatura for 2 turns, and then also puts a shield buff on Tatura for 2 turns, equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. So what we're going to basically do, we're going to make him hit reasonably hard, which means that he's going to get a pretty chunky shield. The Perfect Veil goes on everyone else on your team, which means that in, you know, Dungeon or Doom Tower sort of content, Faction Wars content, anything like that, the enemies won't directly target your Perfect Veil champions. They'll all come and hit Tatura, but he'll have a nice juicy shield to absorb that damage, on top of being tanky himself. For Hydra clan boss, as you guys know, the Fear Head, I think it's the Head of Torment, whenever you hit it without a Perfect Veil on, it puts an unresistible True Fear onto your champions, which is terrible. It completely messes up your runs, and there's very few champions that can apply Perfect Veil to your team. And considering you've got, you know, 3 Hydra keys per week, I think it's a safe bet. I say 99% of players right now will be needing another Perfect Veil in at least one of their Hydra keys, and Tatura is really good for it. So yeah, that will help you deal with that head. Also, this whole thing combos pretty well with his passive, right? So when he's attacked, and Otherworld Breach sort of ensures that he is attacked a lot, when he's attacked, it reflects 30% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker. This is actually fairly underwhelming. It's not that amazing. It's only okay. Could be somewhat okay for Arena if you're running him in there, I guess, but that's about it, I think. Just a little bit of extra free damage. Then he also has a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Now this is actually pretty solid. You know, it's not going to proc all the time by any means. It's only a 30% chance, but it sort of adds up over time, like in Spider's Den, to freeze a couple of spiders here and there. In Doom Tower waves, you know, you can rerun Doom Tower waves as much as you want. So if you're on a really difficult wave, you know, just rerun it a couple of times until you get a bit of good RNG that lets you actually knock down that wave. So it's actually not too bad. Then his aura is really solid too. 35% defense for your entire team in Doom Tower battles. So he's a very good leader for Doom Tower, especially the wave content. In terms of yeah, let's look at his base stats first, and then how I built him. We'll look at Masteries then after. Then we'll jump into some content. So he's got a ton of base health. He's very, very healthy. Attack does nothing for him. His defense is very high, which makes him tankier and also makes him hit harder. He's got good base speed, and then just decent stats. Very good resistance baseline, and a bit of accuracy. The way I've built him out, I've upped his health a bit. He's up to 43k health, so it's a solid amount of health. It's not mega tanky health, but the fact that he generates shields for himself sort of compensates for that. Attack does nothing. Defense, I've built him high defense. I've got him almost 5,000 defense, which is going to make him more survivable and ups the damage that he deals as well. I've also built him to be very fast. He's got 238 speed, so I've built him quick. And I think you do want to build him quick. He is ultimately, a supportive style champion. Then crit rate is also important. I've got him 92%. In my opinion, you could potentially ditch crit rate altogether and just accept that he's not going to get a good shield if you need that to make him tanky enough and fast enough to do the jobs and accurate enough to do the jobs you need. But if possible, I'd really try get him up to at least 70% crit so that he can, if he gets an increased crit rate buff on him, he'll have that 100% crit, which can happen, right? Run him with Archmage Helmet, for example, and that can work pretty well. 85% crit's another decent cutoff point where he'll always crit against positive affinity. So he'll always crit red affinity enemies. With 85% crit, you get bonus crit rate. 100% crit is fine as well. But yeah, it just to up his damage, because he does hit hard. He hits hard, and it makes the shield better. Crit damage is a bit more optional. I've given him a decent chunk. Then resistance, this is one of the funny things, right? So I have him built with pretty high, that's accuracy, 350 accuracy, which is plenty of accuracy for literally every bit of content in the game. That's enough. Done. Accuracy is done. So it's maybe actually a bit too much, arguably. The only debuff he has is his A1. So it's up to you. I actually maybe will go back at some point and maybe drop him down to like 250 accuracy and up his resistance more, because higher resistance actually pretty decent to make it that he resists debuffs, he resists buff strips or buff steals, because he has, if that shield gets stolen away, he's going to be somewhat vulnerable. So that could be a decent thing to do. You could make a resistance build and say, you know what, I don't care too much about that decreased accuracy buff in its A1. I want it to just be a tanky tank, which especially for Spider Dungeon might be a decent idea. But yeah, that's how I've been built out. And in terms of masteries, I do think the mastery build is somewhat important. I think it's quite good. So my chair's in the way. You just believe me, because I can click it, that we've got War Master here. So we've gone down War Master in the offense tree, which adds, again, a ton of damage. But we're also going to get him Life Drinker. So he heals for a bit of damage when he's lower on health. Again, that works with War Master for a little bit of decent extra survivability. And again, he does hit hard, so this will help him stay alive. Plus, he's going to be tanking a lot of damage. And yeah, other than that, just down the whole left-hand side of the tree. In support tree, we're not going to take Charged Focus, which is the usual go-to, because again, he only uses accuracy in his A1. We're going to give him Shield Bearer, though, which gives him 5% more value on shield buffs that he casts. So yeah, just a bit more shielding for himself. And then the important bits here, Cycle of Magic, 5% chance to decrease the cooldown of a skill, start of every turn. It's actually pretty nice on him. Lore of Steel then. You could take Evil Eye if you wanted for some turn meter decrease instead of Lore of Steel. It's up to you. But the reason we're going for these is to get to both of these ones here. So the important one is Lasting Gifts. 30% chance to extend any buff he casts by 1 turn, right? So an extra turn on Perfect Veil potentially, extra turn on Increased Defense, block debuffs, extra turn the shield for himself. That stuff's all really good. And then I also got him Master Hexer because I do have him built to be accurate. Which is a 30% chance to get a 3-turn decrease accuracy instead of 2 turns, which to me is pretty valuable when you've got Hydra heads taking extra turns and stuff. The extra turn actually does add up to a decent chunk in my opinion. So that's how I have them built out. Yeah, in terms of the sets, accuracy, perception, resilience. I don't think stun or taunting set is that good. I prefer to put stun or taunting sets. So for example, let's look at, I put Syl, for example, is in a stun set. I like to put stun set on champions that have, a 3-turn cooldown AoE is usually my go-to for that. He's a little bit long and he doesn't attack at all when he does Wings of Shelter. So I don't like him in a stun or a taunting set. You could, in theory, put him in a Frostbite set could be okay. That's an extra 10% chance to place a freeze debuff on an attacker. So if your big focus is on Doom Tower, or faction wars with him, that could add up to a progressing through dungeons. That could add up to a lot of extra freezes. That could be pretty okay. But I don't think personally that's super worth it. I think Guardian set could also be pretty good, where he'll heal every turn and absorb some damage to your teammates. He'd probably be really good actually in the protection, or yeah, protection set would actually be really good on him. Protect buffs cast by the wearer, and go. Yeah, he'd be really good in protection. Very, very good. And Stone Skin would be okay as well. That's more for arena though, but I definitely consider protection set. Once you start building up more protection sets, maybe I could have done it actually. Oh well, too late now. I've got no gold or no silver, so we're not doing it, but that could be good. Yeah, I've just given him stuff to up his accuracy, a bit of speed, and a bit of tankiness. Resilience is very good, sort of beginner set to put him in, or defense set, whatever. Just building up the stats that you need is sort of where I go with it. Right, let's dive into some content. Let's go to the Doom Tower first. We only have a few floors opened up here. Let's go into the highest floor I can get to. And I put this team together. Let's dive into it. And this is like a defensive team with accessible champions. So we've got Tatura in the lead with his increased defense. Here comes his Otherworld Breach. You can see it hits pretty hard. He's put Veil on everyone else and a nice shield on himself. Who else do I have in here? I've got Syl and Vizix, login reward legendaries, and really good champions for Doom Tower. Syl's going to be healing, putting some increased speed buffs, and doing AoE stuns. Tatura's animation bugs, and he fires off the side of the screen. Vizix has 2 AoE abilities on short cooldowns, 3-turn cooldowns. There we can actually see a freeze from Tatura being hit. That's pretty nice. You can see he's getting beat up here. Boom, but Otherworld Breach comes in, heals him a decent chunk, and puts a nice shield on, so keeping him safe. We have Vizix going to put AoE decrease speed, AoE provoke to spread some of the damage. Ugo, Epic, is in there. This is the only non-guaranteed champion here, by the way, Ugo. She's in there for AoE decreased defense and block buffs. Also a bit of cleansing and healing and stuff like that, but any decreased defense champion would do the same job in this team. And then again, Akoth. I did a guide on Akoth before. I've got Akoth built to do damage. So he does a couple of big AoE hits, he puts some shielding out, and he puts AoE HP burn to help tick things down. But you can see we're blasting through this wave. I thought that was actually a pretty good run here, which showed you, you know, Tatura tanking up some hits. There you go, you can see the damage as well. He tanked up some hits, right? He healed himself up, he stayed alive, he did his job being the tank. On top of that as well, right? On top of that, the defense aura is boosting the survivability of my team. His increased defense buff boosting survivability of my team, and Vizix, Syl, and Akoth are all also defense-based damage dealers, which means that whenever he increases defense, he's also increasing their damage by, what was it, 60% more damage from them too, which is pretty solid, right? You can't complain. So you can see, actually, funny enough, that was my best time. Though it took more turns, the best run there is my Seer team. So on these low Doom Tower levels, hey, guess what? This Tatura defense damage dealer based team, which is very, very safe, actually, in terms of time invested, did it as quick as my Seer team. Can't complain about that. That's pretty solid. So that's the sort of thing that he's going to do for you in Doom Tower. You get the idea. And I think that's a good example of a really good team you could put together. Archmage Helmut could go in instead of one of the damage dealers, or again, any defense-based dudes. Now, one team that is not quite working right for me because of Akoth, really, is, oh yes, Restore Energy, is in Spider. So this is my budget Spider team. Now, I usually run Achak the Wenderin, who has a 3-turn AoE freeze. Achak is better in this circumstance. The issue that we're going to run into here, I'll just preface it because it will happen pretty quick, is that because I built Akoth for damage, and because Tatura is going to place increased defense, and Tatura also hits hard in AoE, we want Tatura to hit hard against the spiders to give himself a shield, so all the spiderlings hit Tatura, right? He's the negative affinity with the spider, which means that they're all going to mostly target him, which is great. So he'll tank it up, while the HP burn from Akoth kills the main spider, and the Cold Hearts help killing the spider with Heart Seekers. A couple of issues with this team. Number one is that this Cold Heart, only level 50, so she actually can get killed sometimes, which is bad, without firing a second Heart Seeker. And then the other issue is that unfortunately, my Akoth is built for damage, so he kills it. Now, if you're running a HP burner that isn't going to do much damage, it's going to be fine. But let's see how it goes, and you'll see the idea. Otherworld Breach comes in, and look at that shield, right? Look at that shield. Here comes the HP burn, and you can see we've already done too much damage to these spiders, because both of these champions are built to hit reasonably well. And you can see that he's tanking things up, gets hit a few times. Maybe I should turn off Akoth's second HP burn. And this is where it gets a bit rough, where the Perfect Veil has expired on Coldheart, and she's actually going to die. And here we go. This is the other issue, is that we've now killed the spiderlings because of that damage from Otherworld Breach, which is not what we want to do. We want them to stay alive with HP burn. A couple of things you could do, I could do to fix this, but I'm not gonna do because I'm just gonna put Achak in, and Achak does the job just fine for me. What you could do instead, we might still win. There's a good chance. We'll let it run through. We might still win. We might. Yeah, the block debuff's keeping him alive. Oh, he's gonna die now. We'll see. We'll see if we can do it. Maybe. It's a strong maybe. We do have some HP burns out, so it's possible. The way you would do it is you could make Renegade, who's your reset champion. If I made her faster than the Cold Hearts... no, we're not going to do it. We're going to fail. Bummer. Let's run it again and see what happens. If I made her faster than the Cold Hearts, she would reset their skills, and she would drop Perfect Veil before Cold Heart did. Now, this actually will probably work fine. We've got 3-turn cooldowns on these Perfect Veils, so this time it will probably work. But yeah, just so that Renegade would reset cooldowns, then she'd get killed instead of Cold Heart. Cold Heart would get off her other ability. That would be okay. I meant to make him not do his Pyroclasm. That's a bit unfortunate. And obviously, Tatura built with more resistance would be safer here. Otherworld Breach comes in, and maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe we turn that off too. We'll run it again. We'll run it again. But yeah, like I said, this team is set up to work with Achak. But as you can see, it works well enough with Tatura. He's plenty tanky to survive the Spiderlings long enough. I think we might make this one. I think we'll make this one. Bonk. Good news is that Akot does hit the main spider pretty hard. Because he's built to do damage. Will it be enough? Will it be enough? We got the Wings of Shelter coming in. Pyroclasm. Ooh, I think he's gonna reset the spider. I'm pretty sure he's gonna get a reset off. No, he's not. He's dead. We got him. There we go. We got him. Took a minute, and it's obviously pretty dodgy, but we got there. Let me switch up the team real fast. So what could we do? Let's see. Let's just try it like this. Let's open with that. Renegades doing Sacrificial Ritual. They're both doing Heartseekers. Tatura, let's have you not use Otherworld Breach again, but use it as your opener. Let's try it like this. Let's see what this does. So the idea here is that we'll only get one Pyroclasm, and we'll only get one Otherworld Breach, which is limiting the AoE damage on these spiders. So he's going to do it once, and that's it. That shield will have to do. But again, if he dies, we don't really mind. There's one Heartseeker, another. Reset comes in. Cold Heart is going to drop her Veil early, which is bad. Oh, shit. Wait, he's got Pyretic Release? Oh, what? Oh, I thought I didn't have that turned on. Well, the shield might keep Cold Heart alive. Maybe it's okay. Cold Heart? Nah, she's dead. Getting Cold Heart to level 60 would also help, huh? That would also help. Make her a lot tankier. Make her a lot tankier. Will this be enough? Will this be enough? I feel like with Cold Heart dying, it might not be. Okay, we've got 3 more HP burns on the Spiderlings, plus the big one on him. Weak hit, but we got a War Master proc. Is it enough? Getting Renegade to... Nah, he got a reset in. Didn't work. Damn it, that was worse. So what happened right there... I didn't realize this. Akot had his Pyretic Release turned on. Let's not waste any more time with this, though. But yeah, so you want to also go in and... Set him to not use Pyretic Release. That would probably do the job where he wouldn't actually kill the spiders. You know what? No. One more. One more! I want to see if this works, damn it! Can we make it work consistently? I really think we probably need to re-gear our dudes a little bit. But you see the idea. You get the concept of how it can work. Heartseekers, reset. Again, what could work well here is having her be faster than the 2 Cold Hearts. Make her open with, like, her A1 or whatever. And then do her reset the second time around. That would actually work really well. So he is going to die here. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Come on, Cold Heart. If we made her a bit faster, she'd get that Heartseeker off. I think she actually did get her Heartseeker off because of Reflex set, though. So yeah, this is totally going to work. There we go. Hey, 40 seconds. There you go. So you get the idea, guys. Again, it's not set up perfectly for it. If I won't show you my normal Achak team. I showed that in the Akot video. You get the idea. I think you more than get the idea. Right, let's show him in Hydra as well. Had a really nice key this week, 25 mil with that team. So these are the 3 teams I'm going to be running this week. I actually did an Elenarel guide yesterday. And then after the guide, I was like, you know what? I am going to try and make Elenarel work. And she's actually been working pretty well in this team I've been testing out right here. Obviously, we got some legendaries in there. What we're going to be running in this one is a more accessible team, and heck, let's just dive right on in. This is a much more accessible team to showcase what Tatura can do. Now, the issue with Tatura is that he puts block debuffs on your team. If the Head of Mischief steals block debuffs and puts it on the enemy team. It's really, really, really bad. Here he goes. His Wings of Vengeance thing. And you can see, by the way, the perfect fail. We can now hit this head and we don't need to worry. So these AoE attacks aren't true fearing us, which is great. But yeah, he's stolen block debuffs. This is really bad. And he's going to spread it now. Boom, there it goes. This sucks. So this team is designed to have a couple of ways to somewhat deal with that or to mitigate it. So first of all, I think you really need at least 2 champions to try stop this happening. In this case, I have Ugo, who can put AoE block debuffs. AoE block buffs on the enemy team to mitigate that a bit. And then I've got Rian the Conjurer, who can come in and, boom, sweeping removal, removes all the buffs. Right? Removes those buffs. I think you need at least 2 champions. You need at least 2 block buff champions. Or you need a buff removal champion and a block buff champion. In AoE, you need something consistent. Again, I'm running Ugo and Rian the Conjurer here, and it's working reasonably well. As you saw, it's not foolproof, right? The Hydras, they did steal some of it. They stole some of those buffs. They did, but we are mitigating it somewhat. Somewhat, we're mitigating it. Okay, here we go. We're coming back around. This Head of Mischief. This is one issue with this team. We don't have a ton of ways to deal with it. Also, a nice thing for this team is that Akoth is built for damage, which we saw on our many spider runs there. But the nice thing about Akoth being built for damage is that Tatura, again, upping his damage is going to help him do a bit more. Again, we have no Hex debuff, so targeting this head is unreliable. I think the decreased accuracy there actually made him not apply a fear? Not sure. But we are going to be killing this head, which is fine by me. Hopefully we get this head down on time. 2 turns still left. This is the thing that's going to screw up this run, is going to be getting damage on this particular head. You could run something like Royal Guard in this team instead. The one champion I haven't talked about is the guy, actually also Archmage, but Husk. I've been building up Husk. You can see he's level 54. He's not quite fully done yet. But Husk is coming in, and what does Husk do? Husk has an AoE max HP hit. There he goes, Despair. Bam! Hits really hard. So yeah, the idea is that Husk is a HP-based AoE max HP nuker. So when he's compared to Royal Guard, he won't do quite as much damage as Royal Guard, who's attack-based. Royal Guard's other abilities are better. But he will do pretty good damage. He'll do decent damage. And he is an AoE nuker, and he also is HP based, so he's quite tanky. This team doesn't have a ton of healing. Only Ugo heals, so yeah. But we do have shielding and protection from our other champions. Right, let's see if we can get this head down this time. We only have 4 turns. This one is harder. Otherworld Breach will at least protect us from those true fears, so that should help. We have a cleanse coming in soon. There he goes. He's done the cleanse. This is kind of bad where he's got the speed. Will it be enough? We're already 5 mil. We're getting kind of close. Only 2 turns left to break him out, but we're almost there. Come on, Ugo, do your AoE decrease defense. Okay, there we go. HP burn, and we're good. Bam, bam. But yeah, this is sort of the idea of the team. We've got fairly consistent AoE damage from Archmage, from Akoth, and slow but hard-hitting AoE from Husk. Again, the sort of issue with Husk is that Head of Mischief is the hard head to hit, and Husk is negative affinity, so his Despair move isn't necessarily going to break it, unfortunately. Archmage is getting a bit lower here. We'll see. Hopefully he will survive. Hopefully he will survive. Rian can res, so that's not too bad. There we go. Big hit. The reflect damage there kind of hurt, actually. But Ugo's Brew removes the fear, the true fear, and is keeping us nice and healthy. So here we go. We're just about to pass our damage threshold for this difficulty fighter. There we go. It's a 1 key. It's a 1 key. We're going to run it through. We're going to run it through the whole way because I want to see what the actual numbers on Tatura are going to be at the end of this. There's his decreased accuracy. Though this head doesn't apply that many debuffs. He has his Pain Link debuff. That's about it. He would go well enough with a Hex champion, I think. Stick a Hex champion with Tatura. Let's try to actually kill this head, because things are getting a little spicy. We're going to start losing some champions. If we can kill this guy off, we'll get some of our max HP back, which would be decent. Okay, now this is where we're going to start dying. You've actually eaten Tatura. Why would you do that, Head of Mischief? That's the guy we're trying to do the video on. Why would you? You monster. So I think Tatura is going to die here. I don't see us being able to break him free, unfortunately. I'm just going to let our dudes do whatever the hell they want, to be honest. Maelstrom Rack. I don't think any of them could have hit this guy hard enough anyway. So Tatura is a goner. Say goodbye, my friend. It has been nice knowing you. Tatura's gone. So, I guess that somewhat defeats the purpose of the video in the sense that this is no longer a Tatura run. But, again, we're going to let it run through at this point. And, yeah, we'll see how it's going to go. We're almost near the end. We've popped another head. Cool. 8 million. So, without Tatura, we're now going to be... This Fear Head's going to be a bigger problem. Luckily, it's almost dead. So that will give us some time. But you can see these True Fears, we now have much less way to deal with them. The debuffs coming out, like these weekends and stuff, are going to be harder for us to deal with as well. We're just going to have a tougher time in general against that sort of thing. Good news is that we don't have to worry as much anymore about this head if it comes back. No, oh, it's the poison head. Oh, this would be a pity. I think for Head of Blight, I think Tatura is really good too. Because Head of Blight, Poison Cloud, okay, doesn't help with that. But he does poison debuffs on everyone. And he can also put leech debuffs as well. Attacks all enemies and 3 poison debuffs and also leech. So Tatura with his block debuffs is going to help you with that. He's going to protect you from that. Going to stop that head messing you up too much. All right, we're going to pass 10 million, pretty sure. Especially if he has his, yeah, Pyroclasm. We get some burns out, not bad. Not bad. 7 turns till Ugo's eaten. We're running low here. Can we break this guy free? I think so, and we do. Good. And Ugo does a decent move there. Ah, he fell over dead. We got Ritual Summoning, though. Okay. That buff removal. We passed 10 million. This has been a pretty decent run. I'm kind of curious to see how stuff is going to go here. Like I said, Husk isn't fully built yet. So getting Husk fully built is certainly going to help. Pyroclasm comes out. Been eaten again, of course we have. And this is where things might get kind of rough. Because Ugo is our healer, and we're all very low. So I expect this is going to end now any second. Oof. Ooh, the poisons. We will break Ugo free, mind you. Come on, Akoth. There we go. Ugo's free. Ugo is free. Funny thing, if Akoth dies, Ugo can revive everyone that's still left. Which could actually be good. Pyroclasm only hits 1 because the Poison Cloud. Ugo just wasted Ugo's brew. So I think us surviving is unlikely. Though he's about to be eaten. I actually have no idea what happens. If he's eaten and Ugo does Ugo's brew, what happens? I think Ugo's dead, though. Yeah, and there we go, 11 million. And in terms of our total numbers here, we can see that Akoth with the HP burn and the AoE hits, again boosted up somewhat by Tatura, is doing really good damage there. Doing really good damage. Husk with the max HP damage is doing decently, not too bad. Then next up was Archmage with his bouncy time slip attacks. Again, watch my Archmage helmet guide, or actually it was another Epic Team video. You can watch, I have an Archmage helmet guide as well, but watch the Epic Team video to see Helmet in action against Hydra in more detail. Tatura, though, he's doing pretty decent damage, right? Similar to Ugo, he only has the 1 AoE attack on a 4-turn cooldown, but he's still doing reasonable damage, and he's also protecting the team and helping them do more. Again, if you take Tatura out of this, all of their damage goes down because of the True Fears, and then they start missing way more abilities, like Ugo will miss a heal because Ugo's True Feared from doing her AoE Maelstrom Rack. So she'll miss her heal, and then everyone suffers. Or whatever, Akoth will miss an AoE HP burn more often, because again, he'll have True Fear, and it's going to ruin your auto run. Tatura helps with all of that a ton, on top of blocking debuffs and stuff. It's a pity we couldn't see him against the Poison Head, but I'll be doing more videos like from tomorrow on when we get the next rotation of the Hydra. But there we go. Beautiful team. Look at it. And again, guys, all epics here, apart from our man, Tatura, or our lion, Tatura. It's all epics, all pretty achievable. We've got 1, 2, 3 Doom Tower champions. Then again, a max HP champion and AoE buff champions. The key really, I think, with Tatura or with Brogni or anyone that's putting block debuffs on your team, because it can be stolen, what you really need to do, what you really want to do, is make sure that you have at least one block buff champion, AoE, on a good cooldown, like Ugo, and then a buff strip on a good cooldown, like Rian the Conjurer. You could put also in things like Madame Ceres would also work instead of Rian. You've got legendaries like Mortu Macab, Umbral Enchantress could work. You've got a few different options there, but you need, in my opinion, you need at least 2 of these. A seer could work as well. You need at least 2 champions that are specifically designed to stop AoE buffs on the enemy team, because if that, I mean, the Head of Mischief can steal it from anyone if you've not got it speed tuned and like really planned out. So you just need to stop that happening, because that you know, you might throw Tatura into your team and the enemy Hydras just constantly have blocked debuffs and you're going like, man, this sucks, my key sucks. That's probably why. So there you go. That is Tatura. I think we've covered everything we need to cover. In fact, more than what we need to, I'd say. But that's okay. You got to see what Tatura can do. Tatura can be a decent spider tank for you in Spider, so long as you don't have too much AoE damage and you kill the spiderlings too quickly. But Tatura is good for that. Tatura is amazing for Doom Tower and really good for Hydra as well. Yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what other champions you would like to see. People really like Tatura in general, and you can see why. Great champion. Oh, I didn't mention, but the original clan boss could actually be pretty good against that too, right? Good against that too, making you a bit more affinity friendly with decreased accuracy, and again, more affinity friendly with blocking debuffs, increasing defense. In a traditional clan boss team, not terrible by any means. Thank you for watching, though. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.